Hello, hello. Welcome to my podcast, From Prison to Promise. Come on in, come on in. Pull yourself up a chair and sit at the table. There's always room for you here. And let's feast on some spiritual food. So to give you a little background, so you understand about who I am and where I came from, I'm going to share a little bit about myself. But to introduce this podcast to you, the future guests, as well as myself, have had lived experiences being incarcerated. So formerly incarcerated people that have overcome so many barriers and are very successful. So it gives you hope. So, it gives you a chance to see actual real people that have lived through hell come out and they're better for it. And that's what this podcast is about, is to give you spiritual nuggets of wisdom, practical applications to reclaim your life, to get free. Because listen, there's more prisons out there than just an actual prison or a jail where you go when you commit a crime. There's so many prisons. You can be in prison from fear, anxiety, besides addictions, and there's so many prisons of self-doubts, insecurities that you could be stuck in. And so this podcast is going to share all the practical ways that we, and my future guests have come out of this, and how we in everyday life, like real actual situations, and so that you can relate to it and that you can be empowered to overcome. And that's what my hope and my prayer is for this podcast. So with that being said, I will share a little bit about myself and how I came to have this wonderful opportunity here at the podcast network. Let's see. I really had a good life as a child. Growing up, I had a good family. They're hardworking family. Always meant the best for us. We tried to be great role models about working hard and, going to school or getting a job. So, always looking to do something with your time. That's how my parents raised me. And so like any kid, I was trying to find out who I was, find my identity. I didn't know who I was and what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. So you find it in your friends, right? Peers are very impressionable upon you. They have a huge impact on us. So growing up, I was kind of like a social butterfly, feeling around which group I fit in. And I never really fit in a particular group. And so, as you can imagine, as my curiosity, I started hanging out with people that were partying. And they were like, oh, you can just listen, when your parents go away, you can have a big bash. They'll never know. And so, like I said, I had great hobbies. I had horses. I had soccer. I just a lot of things that I loved to do. And slowly, as I started hanging out with the stoners and the partiers, the drinkers, I started fading away from all the things that I loved to do. And I just wanted to party all the time. And that led me into I ended up quitting school my senior year. And then just my parents were like, listen, if you were not going to school, you're going to get a job. So I left and I basically couch surfed and partied on. It was a time period where the Grateful Dead and the Fish shows. So it was kind of like the hippie phase that I went through. I just partied all around with people, woohoo, freedom. That's what I thought at the time. Well, it led me down darker and darker paths that I never expected to go down. And I live way up here by the Canadian border. And I could just go to Canada all the time. The drinking age was 18. And then so I'd go to these super clubs and they had all kinds of drugs, cocaine, just easily accessible, ecstasy, whatever, whatever you wanted, whatever your thing was, you could just get it. So that's the kind of lifestyle I was leading. And like I said, you always meet people, right? So I ended up meeting the owner of this huge super club in Quebec, and they had a grow op. They had a huge grow op for marijuana. And so they said to me, hey, we can make a lot of money. We can make buku bucks because marijuana, weed, is worth so much more in the United States than it is in Canada. So they're like, we will get it across to you. All we want you to do is pick it up, get in a car. And we had the whole plan mapped out. So they would bring it, they would walk it across through the fields. They would snowmobile it, they'd boat it. There was all different ways that they would get it across. And they'd bring it in hockey bags. So they would be bringing 250 pounds at a shot in these huge hockey bags, all individually sealed up pounds. And I would just pull up wherever the spot was. I'd pull up with the car, whatever car that I had at the time. I always switched out, pop the trunk. They'd load up the trunk. They'd hand me a phone and a note with the address, phone number, where I was going. I never really knew where I was going ahead of time. That was, the whole part of it, so that nobody could try to like sabotage the trip and take, steal the load, because it's worth a lot of money. So I would go and deliver this weed to all over the United States, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Michigan, North Carolinas, Florida, I went all over the place. And I was making 20, 30 grand a trip. So this money fueled my lifestyle. And yeah, I'm keeping it real. I actually really enjoyed. It was fun. Like the adrenaline, the lifestyle. I was addicted to the chaos, the money, the clothes, the cars, the power, even the power, that's just being real. The power that you got from having this kind of money. And it was an exciting life, because I didn't ever really want to work the 9-to-5 job. That was never me. I was always the adventurous spirit. Well, I kept doing this for quite a long time, but as you can imagine, drugs really started taking a toll. I literally became a shell. I didn't even recognize the girl that I was looking at in the mirror. I didn't even know who I was anyways, but I really didn't know who I was anymore. What I had become. My family was disgusted and discouraged, broke their hearts, because I was nothing like anything that they had known before. They just didn't know where. My mom always hoped and prayed for me that I was still in there. She never gave up on me. And I had a lot of people praying for me at the time. I didn't know, and I didn't care. I really didn't. I was on a path of destruction, and that's the way I was going. And I did not know there was another way to live. So eventually somebody got caught, gave up some names. So the feds were watching. I had to do a lot of stuff you'd see in the movies. I literally would wear wigs and park my car, because I thought, knew the feds were watching. So I'd take another car, get in somebody's other vehicle, and then drive this weed. And I was doing this for many years, and I was like I said, making bank, but I was blowing it all, right? Blowing it all in this lifestyle. And then I called a course correction. God had a plan. He had a course correction set for me, and I'm so thankful. I got arrested. Okay, but it wasn't an arrest. It was really my rescue. He rescued me from the depths of hell. Really, it was really not a life anymore. I was miserable. The drug addiction had just consumed me. And so when I got arrested, the feds, said, hey, you're in violation of this if you want to talk with us. And I was like, listen, I have nothing to say. I don't know what you're talking about. And in my mind, I wasn't caught with nothing. They didn't catch me with a morsel of weed. Nothing. So I was like, I have nothing to say. So they took me to the county jail, Clinton County Jail. Man, I'll tell you what, I started detoxing. And then I was suffering. And the magnitude of what I saw, I was on the front page of the paper. And then I didn't realize how big this was. I was still in denial and delusional from all the drugs. I didn't realize that I was in big trouble. I was on the front page of this. I was involved in this huge international marijuana smuggling scheme. And so they had arrested a bunch of other people. That's how the feds work. And so I was brought to court, and I was facing 5 to 40 for the feds and $1 million fine. And I was just I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was so angry and upset and mad at everybody. And I was like, oh, who ratted who ratted me out? And that mentality, right? I just had that mentality. And so I also had committed a crime for the state. I had, in my just stupor of drug addiction, I had went in and tried to rob a pharmacy. And so I had a robbery charge on top of it. So not only did I get picked up by the feds, now all of a sudden the state brought these charges. They came and arraigned me. So now I'm wanted facing up to 15 years times 2, up to 30 years in state prison. When you see those numbers, those football numbers, listen, that crushed me. But I needed that mountain to fall on this stubborn, thick head of mine to wake me up to realize you were headed to either, I know I was going to either die or be in prison the rest of my life, because it doesn't stop. It just keeps escalating. I was even offered to smuggle cocaine. I'm thankful that I turned that down, because I was already facing enough trouble with just some weed, right? It was a lot of weed, and I did a lot for over a long period of time. So the feds had this huge case against me. But to shorten the story, I was in there suffering, detoxing, just not wanting to live. It was bad. Like, it was so bad when I realized everything I had done, all the choices I made, where my life has taken me. You know, at 33 years old, what had I done with my life? This girl asked me, she's like, would you like to go to Bible study? So I was like, sure. Yeah, I wanted to get out of my cell. Let's go. Well, that night, husband and wife team, they shared that I could be forgiven for all the wrong. I had so many things that I had done, the shame, the guilt, all that I was suffering. I had so much that I wanted this, I wanted this forgiveness. Of course I wanted this forgiveness. And they were sharing how he loved me from the very beginning, and he wants to forgive me. He wants to give me a new beginning. They gave me hope for the first time. I could just feel that there was something about this Jesus, right? So as they began to share with me about what he could do, you know, to free me from my addiction, I gave my life that night. I surrendered. I said, here I am. Jesus, I want you to be my Lord and Savior. Take my life, make something of it, and get me sober. And you know what? I never in my life felt the way that I felt immediately when I let him in my heart. I had this peace come inside of me, this love, this warmth. I didn't know what it was. I felt this change inside of me immediately. I can't even put it into words how awesome of a feeling it felt to be free. So even though I was in a jail, I immediately got this freedom that I had never felt before. And trust me, you could get all kinds of drugs that you want in jail. But for the first time, when I went back to my cell, I knew like everything was going to be all right. Even in the midst of all this chaos, in this, you know, thinking of all this time I could be doing in prison, I just knew it was all going to be okay. I had this different feeling inside of me. And so I took all their suggestions. And they said, read the word of God, just pray and try to get to know Jesus. And so that's what I did. So they didn't come in very often. So I started leading AA groups, Bible study inside the jail. And as I was fighting my case, I started to change. The most powerful thing that I did was start changing my mindset. My mentality began to change. The most powerful thing is our mind. And so my mentality started changing. Instead of wanting to be thinking about myself all the time, I was sharing about, you know, Jesus with other people that were coming in. They're in and out. And I didn't want drugs for the first time in my life. I was free. I didn't want it. It was gone. That burden that I couldn't get rid of in a rehab or anywhere else was finally gone. He lifted that and delivered me from that just bondage of just constantly being chained and thinking of drugs consumed my thoughts all the time. They didn't anymore. And so to shorten that, I spent the next 5.5 years, I went to prison, but I became a facilitator. I had a mentor that was like, you can go to college. She wrote books from in prison. This lady impacted me. She was like, this is not the end. It's all how you shift your perspective. She's like, use this time as a gift. This time is a gift. Utilize it to get yourself to know who you are, to love yourself, and to get to know God, you know, and use this time wisely. And that's what I did. And I became a facilitator. I started empowering other women and we looked out for each other. I read the word of God. I got to know God, and I got to know who I was in him. And my identity is now tied to him. So my identity is not going to be swayed now by the crowd and what they think the thing is to do. I'm not swayed by that anymore. I know who I am. I don't need to be doing anything besides what the Lord has called me to do. And so I got out of prison with that mission, that vision, what he wanted me to do. Okay. And I got my miraculous release. I wrote a book, and it's called Stripes from Prison to Promise, if anyone wants to hear more of my story. But for time's sake, I got out of prison with a mission, became a recovery coach, finished college. I founded a nonprofit, Changed by Christ. And because there's nothing in our area and the surrounding counties, nobody's helping people coming out of prison, and seeing that I've been successful. Okay. And I've broken through barrier after barrier after barrier. So now I want to empower other people and make an impact in my community. and beyond by helping everyone that gets out, reclaim their life one step at a time. And I can share some suggestions that I've done, to help change my life, and then my future guests as well. They're going to have these lived experiences. They can share, the struggles and the triumphs. Like, I'm glad that I was corrected. I'm glad I went through the pain, because out of the pain became a purpose where nothing gets in my way any longer. I know where I'm going. I know what I need to do, and I'm determined, and I'm ferociously focused. And that's my heart's cry for all the people that have been led down the wrong path. They need that hope. You give them a hope rope to grab onto and pull them out and pull them up, because that's what it's about. We are now supposed to impact others. So in this, in the podcast upcoming and for today, I wanted to share that the most powerful thing that we can do is start changing our mind. So the homework that I want to give you all is to take a look at what you're digesting. What spiritual food? Okay. For instance, what are you watching on social media? What are you listening to on the radio? What kind of group of people are you around? Are you around the negative Nancys? Or are you, around people that are just always complaining, or their perspective is negative, or they talk about people? Get around other people that are talking about ideas, and visions, and and you can make yourself a vision board. Okay. Spend some time first looking at the time that you're spending, what you're digesting, like online, and make some changes. If really feel how you feel after you get off listening to, YouTube channel or a podcast, right? Find somebody that's going to uplift you and make you be a better person, the best version of you. That's what my hope and my prayer is. And every day I try to become a better version of me. And I really am very wise about what I listen to. I don't listen to the news, because you know what? There's just too much of the negative. It brings my spirit down. I feast on the word of God. I do daily confessions. This book is so worn out. I do my daily confessions. It's just the very word of God every day. And so that it becomes part of me. So I'm able to change my negative mindset. I used to be the biggest stinking thinking, the biggest complainer, always, Murphy's Law. No, that's not how my life is run anymore. My life is run by the expectation that even my mistakes, God can, with his grace and his mercy, he can make it to prosper. He can turn it another way if I surrender and I follow his path. Okay. It's not about perfection. We're going to stumble. We're going to make mistakes, but you get up and you get right back to it, and you stay focused and you learn instead of keep doing the same things. Now, I want to give you a visual in the mind. Okay. If you've ever driven down a road, okay, in a car, like a muddy road, they make deep ruts. And so as you continue driving down, the ruts are going to get deeper and deeper. Same thing with our mind. Okay. If we're conditioned to always think like something bad is always going to happen, then, negative things always happen to me. That's what you're going to get, because your expectations, right? So what we need to do is to retrain our mind to say, like, for instance, I can't try that. Like I don't write books. I don't write essays. Like, I'm not a writer. That right there is a negative mindset. A negative mindset. You can say to yourself, you know what? What is it going to hurt to give it a try? Maybe I don't know that maybe I am a good writer, and you can start writing. So just start writing, start journaling, right? So whatever it is, any example you could use, anything that you really want to do, maybe you're afraid of trying it because you're looking at it wrong. So instead of saying, I can't do this or I can't do that, why not give it a try? You're not born into this world knowing how to walk or talk. You learn it. Everything we have to learn. So don't be afraid so much of what you're going to look like. And you may fall down. But like I just said, so what? I got a bunch of scrapes and bruises and scars, and I'm proud of them because they taught me how to live and what it means to really live. I don't want to be held back by my mind, because it's our mind that'll hold us back from doing what we're supposed to really do. So how you can break out of that stronghold is retraining your mind, daily confessions. So start watching who you're around, who you're listening to, change it, change the channel. If you don't like the results, change the channel. The next thing I, want to share that I do, like I said, I have daily confessions. I say, I have the mind of Christ and the wisdom of God is formed within me. God promises to supply all my needs. So instead of worrying, because worrying is like, I love it when somebody said this before, the analogy of worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair and expecting to go somewhere. You're not going anywhere. So you're rocking, you're wasting a bunch of energy, but you're not getting anywhere. Worrying is wasteful too. You can worry all the time about this or that, and it doesn't even happen. Write down some of your worries and then check back in a week and see if any of those worries happen. I bet you most of them don't come to pass. So if you can start looking at what you're thinking about. The other thing is your self-talk, how you talk to yourself. That was the biggest thing I had to change. I had so many people had spoken, like the word curses against me, saying, you're never amount to anything. You're nothing but trouble. Oh, you're no good, this, da, 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 da. And I had the same self-talk. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? You can't go to college. You didn't even finish high school. You can't do this. I had to change that inner self-talk, and be kind to myself and say, you know what, girl, you didn't finish school, but now's your chance. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You can do this, Colleen. And I had to tell myself over and over that I could do it. I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. So through the Holy Spirit, through the Word of God, through my time, I was able to learn that I can do these things. It's all about my mindset. I set your mind, because you know what? Your thoughts become your words. Your words then become your actions, and then becomes your habit. In order to make a new habit, to break an old habit, you have to make a new habit. And consistency is going to be the key. Consistency is the key so it works in both ways. If you're consistently doing the wrong, like the negative thing, it's just gonna grow, right? But if you start to break out and you be consistent, okay? Like for instance, let's use exercise as a perfect example. Even if you start every day for 5 minutes and you just start your little bit of exercise, okay? 5 minutes, but you do it every day at the same time. You're going to actually be trained up. Your body's going to be like, wait a minute, this is my day. This is my time to go for my walk or whatever it may be. So you will be able to be trained up in whatever way that you really want to go, but you have to choose. We all have choices. You got to choose where you want to be, what you want to have, what are the results that you want for your life. And then you got to take the steps to do them. I know change is hard, but I'm here to tell you I'm a living example that as I made these changes in my life, I love being sober. I love being able to help other people. And I love the fact that all that my mess that I had made, it's now become a message that the ones that have no hope and have given up on themselves, that they can too change. The choice is yours. If there's still breath, if you're breathing, you still have breath in your body, you can make a change in your life. The choice is yours. Choose life or death, blessings or curses. Every single day we're given choices. So when you wake up, you can get a new routine, okay? Write down some of the changes that you want to see in yourself, okay? And then listen to your self-talk. And start changing your self-talk. Catch yourself. Hold every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. All right. You have to think about what you're thinking about and what you're saying to yourself. That's where you got to combat first. If you can say every thought that comes, is this going to benefit me or not? Stop thinking about it. It's really that simple. You have the power over it. And once you train your mind, your body follows. You can literally change your life by changing your thoughts. So like I said before, I never thought I could do anything. I never was going to amount to anything. And look at me now. And it's not to toot my own horn. It's to give you hope. Whoever's listening that may be struggling and thinking that, you know what, it's over. You messed up your life. Well, that's a lie. You need to recognize that you're believing and partnering with a lie. Life, you know what? Most of it is our reaction to what happens to us. So by shifting your perspective, shifting your focus, and saying, yeah, some crappy things may have happened, but doing something about getting your inner healing. so that you can be all that you want to be. Invest in yourself. The greatest investment is investing in yourself and in your mind. So be really, like I said, I know I said it, I've said it about what you're putting in your mind. Who are you around? Are you around other people that are talking about, great things that they want to do? Put yourself in some uncomfortable situations, like not in a bad way. I'm talking about being uncomfortable. Challenge yourself. Go and sit around other people that have businesses. Go and make conversations with them, and go talk to people how they did it. Life experience. They could save you some time, and they could shave off some just unwanted effects from learning. You can ask them. They've lived it, like myself. That's what I want. The guests that I want to have on the show are people that are authentic, are real, that, like I said, they have lived through different things and they've come out. I'm just blown away by some of the people that I know. I'm so proud of them. I mean, they came through some stuff just like myself, and we do not look like what we've been through. So every day I get up and I make choices and I choose myself, and I want to be the best version of myself. So I get up. The first thing I do is, I go into prayer. I have my coffee. I do my daily readings. I do my daily confessions. And I tell myself every single day that I can do all things through Christ. I'm a champion. I can overcome anything that comes my way. And that's how I start my day. So I start my day. My first food of the day, besides coffee, is my spiritual food. So what are you feeding your spirit? It's so important what you're taking in through your ear gates, your eye gates, and what are you feeding yourself? How do you start your day? Do you start your day running late? So maybe you need to set your alarm a little earlier. Get up a little earlier so that you can spend time with God. Spend time gathering your thoughts for the day, like what you want to do. Get yourself a schedule and carve out time for yourself. I carve out time for exercise. I carve out time for my daily confessions. I carve out time for prayer. You can do this if you want to. You can really make the changes. You can choose yourself and not be selfish. You can put up healthy boundaries and say, you know what? At lunchtime, I'm not going to go sit with the people that gossip and talk bad about everybody, because you know what? You're going to really start thinking negative about everybody. It will have an impact, even though you may not even be joining in. What you're sitting around, what you're listening to, will impact you. And you'll notice, if once you start removing yourself from them, when you do go back around them, not that they're bad people, they just haven't had the awakening. You'll feel like, wow, ooh, you know what? I don't really like to be around that anymore, because you will see a different side of life. Life is so good. It is so much better. Okay, it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. So smile. And how do you smile? By feeding yourself happy, good thoughts. And choose today what way you want to go in your life and make the change and be the change that you want to see. But it starts with you, okay? It starts with you looking at what you want out of your life, getting yourself a vision board. And like I did with my vision board, I just got a vision board from the dollar store. And then I cut out little, whatever was meaningful to me. Like I wanted, a transitional sober house. So I cut out a house and I wrote sober transitional house. At the time I wanted to write a book. So I cut out a little book and published, the author. Just whatever it is that you want. Okay. Maybe it's your family. You want to have better relationships with your family. That's a huge component, so you could even do on your vision board steps that you're going to take. I'm going to make calls to my family every day, even if it's for 5-10 minutes. Let them know I love them, or spend time with your kids, right? Carve out that time, make the time. Time is the most valuable commodity. So look at what you're doing with your time. Make yourself a vision board. Start listening to yourself talk, and start changing the way that you talk to yourself. Start changing the people you're around if they're negative, what you're listening to. Change the channel if you don't like it. If you want a better life, you can have it. Every single day we have thousands of choices. The choices you make today, even if they're tough and they're painful, you will bear fruit. So you need to make the choice of what you want for your future. And I'm living proof that you can change even in the hardest of hardest circumstances. I became better. I flourished. I flourished in the hardest part of my life because I made these changes. And I'm here to empower you that you can make the changes. You can reach out. There's so much now at our fingertips for help. There's all kinds of things on YouTube, that you can listen to change your life. Make the time. You're worth it. If you get anything from today, is that you need to make the time for yourself because you're worth it. And I really hope that you like, share, and subscribe to this. And share it if it's touched you or impacted you in any way. Share it and make sure you like it so that you can hear what I have, the upcoming episodes and my future guest. The future guests are going to have amazing things that they can share. And then, listen, not every suggestion that somebody gives you is going to work, but you give it a try. You give it a try. And if it doesn't work, you didn't lose anything. At least you tried it, right? It doesn't hurt to give it the old college try. But they may give you suggestions that will change your life. Okay. So I hope to see you again. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope that you got something out of it. Like, share, and subscribe. And see you again. And thank you for joining in on the From Prison to Promise. Thank you so much.